Again, to Let's Talk Forensics with Pastor Dan. We're going today to look at crime scene investigation, specifically at determination of death. Now, when it comes to a crime, we have a body sometimes, we have to figure out what caused that death, when they died, things along those lines. Now, when we do that, the person that does that is called a forensic pathologist. What is a forensic pathologist? It's called a medical examiner, an ME. Now, an ME is a medical doctor, actually has a degree in medicine, but for whatever reason, they've chosen to focus on the dead as opposed to the living. Sometimes they don't necessarily have a great bedside manner, although they could. People are different, but the idea here is that you have someone that it wants to look at the body to determine what caused death from that, a doctor that can do that. Now, they do that by performing an autopsy. And we'll talk about an autopsy. We talked about it before. We'll talk about it again in a little bit. Well, as far as details, they're going to identify the cause of death. Why did the person die? What made them die? And the other thing they'll determine is the time of death. At what time? Because that way they can identify what suspects they have, if the suspects have alibis, or if they are possible persons of interest, things along those lines. All right, now, the next thing we're looking at then is the autopsy. What exactly is an autopsy? It's a process of examining the body to determine death. All right, now, when we do that, we're going to look at major organs. What major organs we're going to look at? There are 5 of them: the heart, the lung, the liver, the kidney, the brain. Now, why? Because those are things that we can identify to cause either disease or poisoning, things along those lines. When we do them, we'll take them out of the body. We use the Y cut on the body from the collarbones down and down the center of the rib cage. Open up the chest, remove the organs, weigh them, examine them, see if there's any disease in them at all. We'll then look at for trauma, see if they were attacked, stabbed, anything along those lines. We'll also then run toxicology. Remember we talked about before, those are tested to determine poisons or drugs. Now, to determine time of death, the body remains constant for about an hour. For the first hour, the body doesn't drop in temperature. After that, it drops at a rate between 1 and 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. Now, what kind of device do we use? Something like this, some of you might have seen at home. That's basically a meat thermometer. Same idea. Now, they're not going to use that exact one. They can use something with digital, but they're going to use that and insert it into the body in order to get a proper core body temperature, determine how long the person's been dead. Where do they put it? Well, the best core organ is the liver. The liver around the middle of the back, they'll roll the corpse over, they'll shove it in there, and like, oh, that's horrible. The person's dead. They're not feeling anything. So that inside of there, get a core temperature. From that, they can begin to extrapolate and determine how long and at what time they were killed. All right, now, let's do two problems here. First one, determine how long a victim has been dead, whose body temperature is 92.8 degrees Fahrenheit. We need to first identify the core body temperature should be normally. You should possibly know that's 98.6. So we're going to take 98.6 minus 92.8, and we're going to get 5.8 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to put that over 1, just make it easy to work with mathematically. And then we're going to take the longer time span. So that means for every 1 hour, 1 degree Fahrenheit. That's easy too. Multiply through, that's 5.8. We're going to add an hour because remember the body doesn't cool for the first hour. So the body at the longest span has been dead for 6.8 hours. All right, shorter span. Again, do the same thing, 5.8 degrees Fahrenheit. This time, instead of 1 hour for 1 degree Fahrenheit, it's 1 hour of 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's 3.9 hours. Add our hour when we don't cool down. So we're going to have 4.9 hours. Now, 0.8, so 4.9 hours to 6.8 hours, roughly 4 hours and 54 minutes, because 0.9 times 60 and 0.8 times 60 is 54 and 48 minutes respectively. So roughly the body's been dead between 5 and 7 hours. That's how they would call it. All right, now let's go the opposite way, a little bit more intense here. What is a time of death? Victim whose body temperature is between 88.9 degrees Celsius temperature, the body is tested at 11:45. All right, so what we're gonna do is take again 98.6 minus 88.9. We have our 9.7 degrees Fahrenheit differences. We'll take our first one, our longer span. 1 hour is 1.1 degree Fahrenheit, so that's 9.7, plus our initial hour, 10.7. We'll do the now 10.7 times 60. That's 10 hours and 42 minutes. All right, let's do the shorter span now. So 9 times 1 hour over 1.5, that's going to give us 6.5 hours. We add the hour where the body doesn't cool, 7.5. 0.5 times 60, 7 hours and 30 minutes. So if we go back to our original time, 11:45, minus our longest, 10 hours and 42 minutes, that's 1 hour and 1:03 p.m. We take our 6:30 times 11:45, so 4:15. So in general, we would say between 1 and 4:30, the person was killed. That's how we come up with time of death. Now, question does arise. How long can this process continue? This will continue until the body reaches room temperature. When the body reaches room temperature, it stops. It will remain constant at that temperature. What do we do then? Well, the person we're bringing next is a different expert. It's called a forensic anthropologist. Now, you might have seen this on streaming now, a show called Bones. Temperance Brennan, not always a good moral person in the show, but a good example of the profession. A person who examines bones to determine whether cause of death or find evidence after most of the tissue is gone. They actually have something called a body farm. What they'll do is people that donate their body to science, they'll take it out in a field someplace and they'll just let it bake in the sun. After so long, then they'll bring out students and begin to test on it. They'll take the skin and they'll test it for different trace evidence. I've actually heard where they want to identify the person, they'll remove the finger, take the skin off the fingertip, put a glove on, put that back on their skin and moisturize it so that they can fingerprint and identify it. So those are the kinds of things they'll do. Now, when it becomes really, when they want to begin to look at the bones, they actually boil the bones down. That'll remove all the tissue. They can then have the clean bones, look at the bones. And one of the tests they'll run is called facial reconstruction. They'll take different parts of the body and put clay in there to represent muscle and then recreate the structure of the face. Then running DNA, they can identify hair color, eye color, hair color, things along those lines, and try to reconstruct what the person looked like. The other thing they can do is find marks on the bones. If the person was hit with a bat or with a car, or if the person was stabbed or shot, it will cause the bones to be damaged in different ways, and by that we can identify how the person was killed. Trace evidence, like I said before, there was actually a case I heard of one time where when they got the body, they tested the outside skin layer. They found a pollen on it that wasn't native to the area where the body was found. It was like in Virginia. So they went down to that area where those trees were. They searched the area. They found the primary crime scene. This was a body dump, and they were able to get evidence in that way. And the last thing is the entomology. Now, entomology is a fancy word. What exactly does that mean? Entomology means the study of bugs. Now, there's two things we're going to do. We're going to identify, whoa, grab the wrong one there, put that back up there. We're going to identify what bugs are present. In specific areas, bugs will come in a specific order to a body. And based on which bug is present, we can say this is the body, this is how long they've been dead. The second thing we do is a stage of development. What stage, adult, pupa, larva, it is. And there's a specific sequence. So it goes from eggs to larva to pupa to adult. And based on where it's at in that sequence, we can tell how long that's been. All right. Hopefully that's not too bad. Take care. God bless.